The Democratic Party is set to launch its election campaign committee tomorrow, hoping to reach out to voters beyond those leaning liberal. Meanwhile, the People-Powered Party contenders were narrowed down to Kim Moon-soo and Han Dong-hun, with the final announcement expected on Saturday. North Korea's military delegation has left for Moscow ahead of the day marking the 80th anniversary of the Soviet Union's victory in World War II, which will be in early May. This follows public acknowledgement of the regime having sent troops to help Russia's war against Ukraine. A forest fire in Daegu City was put out on Tuesday after wreaking havoc on the area on a massive scale for the past 23 hours. It's April 29th, 8 p.m. in Seoul. This is Newscenter. Thank you for joining us. I'm Yoon Jung-min. We start with the latest on the political front. Having elected its presidential candidate for the June 3rd election, the Democratic Party is poised to launch its campaign committee tomorrow, open to figures from across the political spectrum. Our correspondent Shin Ha-young reports.
With 5 weeks left until the presidential election, the Democratic Party, having officially confirmed former leader Lee Jae-myung as its presidential candidate, is now putting together its election campaign committee. With plans to launch the committee on Wednesday, the party aims to form it with a focus on unity.
A true Republic of Korea is a community that comes together through greater unity and cooperation. That's what we need to build. Starting tomorrow, the DP will shift into campaign mode and focus all its efforts on winning the presidential election.
He has been taking steps to emphasize unity and broaden his appeal to centrist and conservative voters, mentioning the word unity 14 times in his acceptance speech on Sunday. The party said the committee will include members from various factions regardless of their political background. It has already shown such an intention by recruiting former Environment Minister Yoon Yeo-jun, known as a conservative strategist, to one of the top posts in the campaign. The party is also open to bringing in more centrist and conservative figures from across the political spectrum. Lee is reportedly planning to meet with his primary rivals, Kim Kyung-soo, former Gyeongsangnam-do Province Governor, and Kim Dong-yeon, current Gyeonggi-do Province Governor. Kim Dong-yeon cannot officially join the committee because he is a sitting governor, but Kim Kyung-soo is expected to join if asked. Liberal figures outside East faction, such as former Prime Minister Chung Se-kyun and Kim Bu-kyum, are also being considered for the campaign committee. Kang Keum-sil, a former justice minister under the Nomu현 administration, is joining the campaign as the committee's chief chair. Shin Ha-young, Arirang News.
The People-Powered Party contenders are now cut to two, Kim Moon-soo and Han Dong-hun, who do not see eye to eye when it comes to the ouster of the former president. The party will hold a runoff election, and the results are expected on Saturday. Our correspondent Kim Do-yeon reports.
It's now down to two, Kim Moon-soo and Han Dong-hun. The People-Powered Party announced the winners of the second round of voting on Tuesday. The second round had been fierce, with no clear frontrunner from the 3 days of heated debates. But as the results were announced, they continued to emphasize party unity, as the Democratic Party of Korea's Lee Jae-myung, certainly not an easy opponent, awaits in the presidential election.
I'm also grateful to Han Dong-hun for joining me in the final stage of the primary. I believe he has a bright future ahead, and I look forward to seeing him play a major role for the good of our country.
In this challenging presidential race, there are differences between Kim Moon-soo and I. But that's exactly why we must team up, like a three-legged race, and stand as one against Lee Jae-myung.
The results follow voting on Sunday and Monday under the same rules as the second round, 50% PPP members and 50% an open survey. Neither candidate secured over 50% of the total tally, leading to a runoff, proving the tightness of the race. A one-on-one debate will be held on Wednesday, followed by voting, with the final result announced on Saturday at the party's presidential race convention. Meanwhile, An Chul-soo, in his exit speech, pledged to support the winner of the race.
We must work harder to overcome the crisis facing our party. Whoever wins, I'll give my all to stop Lee Jae-myung and bring about a change in government.
Hong Jun-pyo, as he said before, declared his retirement from politics, a 30-year career with 5 terms at the parliament and 2 gubernatorial posts.
I will return to private life and live quietly. My role in this presidential race ends here.
The race yet again is between one candidate who was against impeachment, Kim Mun-soo, and one pro-impeachment of President Yoon Suk-yeol, Han Dong-hun. This translates to someone more appealing to conservative and traditional PPP members versus someone more appealing to moderate and undecided voters. In addition, Kim has been openly supporting the idea of acting President Han Duck-soo running for the presidency and merging camps, while Han has even called the party's support of this a defeatist mindset. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
The Supreme Court will rule this week on the election law violation case of the Democratic Party presidential candidate, Lee Jae-myung. According to the court on Tuesday, the verdict will be delivered at 3 p.m. on Thursday, May 1st. This comes 34 days after the case was submitted, following an appeal by prosecutors against a high court ruling that had overturned an initial guilty verdict last month. The top court decided last week to have the full bench oversee the case and has been reviewing it at an unusually fast pace. Lee was convicted of making false statements during the previous presidential campaign when he was a candidate. Lee denied knowing a man involved in a land development scandal in the city of Seongnam during a media interview in 2021, and also reportedly made false claims during a related National Assembly audit. The ruling will be broadcast live on the court's YouTube channel. In other news, a North Korean military delegation has departed for Moscow ahead of Russia's Victory Day in May. Earlier, the regime has made public Putin thanking Pyongyang for sending troops to help Russia amid their ever-growing military alliance. Kim Bo-kyung explains.
Ahead of Russia's 80th Victory Day celebrations on May 9th, North Korea's military delegation has left for Moscow to attend an international event. According to the North state-run Korean Central News Agency on Tuesday, the delegation led by the deputy director of the General Political Bureau of the North's Korean People's Army departed Pyongyang. Though the North's media said the visit was for an international anti-fascist conference, speculation has risen over the possibility of the delegation visiting Moscow to discuss Russia's Victory Day parade or North Korean leader Kim Jong-un's potential visit to Russia around that time.
Instead of attending Russia's Victory Day ceremony, the focus is likely to be on a potential North Korea-Russia summit, with Kim Jong-un's visit to Russia expected to happen around that time. Rather than participating as just another leader in a multilateral setting, Kim is likely to focus on a one-on-one meeting, where his alliance with Russia and contributions to its war effort could be more highlighted.
The North's 노동신문 newspaper published Putin's recent statement thanking Pyongyang on its front page. This came a day after North Korea officially confirmed its troop deployment to Russia. Putin's statement said that the deployment was in accordance with international laws, along with the Comprehensive Strategic Partnership Treaty, which Kim and Putin signed in June last year. While expressing his deepest gratitude to North Korea, Putin claimed Russia would forever remember the heroes of Korea who sacrificed their lives for Russia and for their shared freedom. Meanwhile, as both Pyongyang and Moscow have now admitted the deployment of North Korean troops, Ukraine urged tougher sanctions on them on Monday local time. Ukraine's foreign ministry said the deployment is in violation of international laws and UN Security Council resolutions, and stressed that the deepening military cooperation between Pyongyang and Moscow would pose a threat not only to the Korean peninsula, but also to global security. Kim Bo-kyung, Arirang News.
Russia's Putin has once again unilaterally called for a ceasefire in Ukraine, this time a 72-hour truce starting next Thursday, ahead of its Victory Day celebration. Washington calls for the one that is permanent. Shin Se-byuk covers this latest development.
Russian President Vladimir Putin on Monday unilaterally declared a three-day ceasefire in Ukraine from May 8th to the 10th to mark the 80th anniversary of Victory Day, 2 weeks after a 30-hour truce over Easter. The latest announcement made via a telegram message added that the ceasefire was, quote, based on humanitarian considerations. It further explained that all military actions will be prohibited during the ceasefire period and called on Ukraine to follow the ceasefire protocols. It warned that if Ukraine violates the ceasefire, the Russian military would respond, quote, appropriately and effectively. The temporary ceasefire also comes as U.S. President Donald Trump warned on Saturday that he may consider introducing sanctions against Russia if Putin doesn't intend to end the war. However, the White House on Monday stressed that what Trump wants to see is a permanent ceasefire, adding that the U.S. leader has been frustrated with the lack of progress made in peace talks between Moscow and Kyiv.
He wants to see a permanent ceasefire. The president has made it clear he wants to see a permanent ceasefire, first to stop the killing, stop the bloodshed.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky in a video speech on Monday also dismissed Moscow's announcement as, unquote, attempt at manipulation, and called for an unconditional ceasefire for at least 30 days.
Now, once again, there is another attempt at manipulation. An immediate, complete, and unconditional ceasefire for at least 30 days to ensure it is guaranteed and reliable is what can provide the foundation for real diplomacy.
According to one expert, Putin's unilateral ceasefire decision is a gesture aimed at seizing the initiative in war-related negotiations and attempting to negotiate directly with Trump, bypassing Ukraine.
If I am a bit blunt here, Ukraine can only resist Russia with the help of the US. So what Putin is trying to do now is that he's trying to negotiate directly with Trump over the head of Ukrainians.
He added that Putin's underlying message is clear that he can end the war at any time if his demands are met. Shin Se-byuk, Arirang News.
A forest fire in Daegu was contained on Tuesday after wreaking havoc on the area on a massive scale for the past 23 hours, with authorities yet letting their guards down. An Sung-jin has this report.
An area the size of nearly 400 soccer fields has turned into ash. At around 12:55 p.m. on Tuesday, the massive forest fire that covered Hamjisan Mountain in the city of Daegu had been put out after nearly 24 hours. The fire reportedly broke out around 2 p.m. on Monday along the ridge of the mountain, and due to strong winds of up to 15 meters per second, the fire spread rapidly. Considering that the city had blocked off walking paths as part of forest fire prevention measures, authorities will thoroughly scrutinize how the fire started. During the fire, authorities had issued a Forest Fire Response Level 3, the highest level, which is issued when damage to more than 100 hectares is expected. Approximately 260 hectares of land were affected by this fire. The Korea Forest Service had deployed more than 50 helicopters and 1,500 personnel. Daegu City had sent alert messages to residents to close their windows and make sure there isn't any additional damage due to smoke, though no casualties have been reported so far. Recent dry weather combined with warmer temperatures and a high-pressure system raised the likelihood of the fire spreading. Though the fire has been contained, authorities are advising caution.
Forest fires are still dangerous because they can spread even with a small spark under thick layers of leaves or rocks. We will be monitoring for 24 hours to make sure that the fire has been completely extinguished.
The local government had also pledged to provide support for damage investigation, psychological counseling, and property support for residents. Han Sung-jin, Arirang News.
U.S. President Donald Trump's eldest son, Donald Trump Jr., arrived in South Korea on Tuesday at the invitation of Shin Se-gye Group Chairman Chung Yong-jin. Trump Jr. is scheduled to meet with approximately 20 Korean business leaders during a two-day visit. South Korean exporters to the U.S., especially manufacturers in the semiconductor, auto, and defense sectors, are reportedly keen to engage with him. Leaders from Samsung, SK, and other companies will reportedly exchange opinions on economic issues and strengthen networks between Korea and the U.S. Canada's Liberal Party has won a fourth consecutive election, with Mark Carney set to become the next Prime Minister. The former central bank governor took office last month, following predecessor Justin Trudeau's resignation, and quickly called a snap election, prompting Canadians to vote on Monday. He highlighted his crisis management experience, hoping Canadians would see him as the strongest leader to confront U.S. President Trump amid a trade war. The party's remarkable recovery follows a challenging period, but uncertainty remains over whether the Liberals secured a majority, which would require it to get backing from other parties to govern. The Catholic Church will begin the process of picking a new pope next week on May 7th. As our Lee Jae-myung reports, the College of Cardinals is more diverse than ever.
The Vatican announced Monday that the conclave to elect the new pope will begin on May 7th local time. Following Pope Francis's death on April 21st, 135 cardinals under the age of 80 from around the world will gather at the Vatican to participate in the secret election. Preparations are already underway, with the Sistine Chapel closed to the public on the same day. The conclave, conducted via anonymous voting, continues until a candidate achieves a 2/3 majority. On the first day, voting will take place just once, but during the subsequent days, ballots will be cast up to 4 times daily. After each round of voting, the ballots are burned, with the color of the smoke indicating the result. Black smoke rising from the Sistine Chapel's chimney signals that no decision has been reached. However, when a pope is finally chosen, white smoke will be seen, and the bells of St. Peter's Basilica will toll. And with the dates of the conclave announced, attention is now turning to potential successors who could shape the future of the Catholic Church. Highly discussed contenders include Cardinals Pietro Parolin of Italy, Luis Antonio Tagle of the Philippines, Pier Battista Pizzaballa of Italy, Peter Turkson of Ghana, and Peter Erdo of Hungary. Also among the papabili, which refers to those in the running to become the next pope, is Korean Cardinal Lazaro Yuhung-sik. Italy's most read daily newspaper, the Corriere della Sera, last week named Yu among the 12 leading candidates for the papacy. Though there is no fixed time limit, modern conclaves have typically lasted 2 to 3 days, with the longest in recent history lasting 5 days. With a more diverse college of cardinals than ever before, the Catholic community awaits the election of its new spiritual leader. Pyongyang, Arirang News.
Staying in Europe, an unprecedented power outage has plunged Portugal and Spain into complete darkness. Park Hyo-bin has more.
Cheers erupted as lights gradually flickered back on across the Iberian Peninsula late Monday night. By early Tuesday, around 90% of Spain's national grid had been restored, with lights also returning to Lisbon. The massive blackout had plunged much of the region into chaos earlier in the day. Traffic lights went dark, causing major traffic disruption. Police were dispatched to key intersections to manually direct traffic. Subways and trains ground to a halt, leaving hundreds of tourists and residents trapped in the dark, many experiencing moments of panic. High-speed train services were also disrupted, forcing passengers to disembark.
They opened the doors so it could, freshen up and everything. After, I would say, an hour, the battery died down of the train. And then that's it. The bathrooms weren't working. So it's so stupid because everything was electronic.
As the Spanish government declared a national emergency, long lines formed outside supermarkets and gas stations as people rushed to stock up on essentials.
I don't know. We've been without electricity for a while now. We don't know how long it's going to be, so we're buying what's possible to buy for the moment.
The exact cause of the outrage is under investigation.
It's better not to speculate. We'll know the cause. We do not rule out any hypothesis, but now we must focus on the most important thing, which is to restore electricity to our homes.
The two countries held emergency cabinet meetings in response to the crisis. Spain is receiving emergency electricity from France and Morocco, but no timeline has been given for full restoration. Meanwhile, Portugal expects normal service to resume as early as Tuesday, prioritizing hospitals, airports and railways. Park Hyubin, Arirang News.
Korean businesses, like many others in the world, are facing challenges in today's turbulent trade environment. Our Lee Soo-jin spoke with the head of the American Chamber of Commerce in Korea on how they can navigate this uncertain landscape.
U.S. President Donald Trump's hardline tariff agenda is fueling rapid, unpredictable shifts in the global trading landscape. South Korean companies are among those heavily impacted, which is why they're actively exploring new strategies to adapt to the shifting environment. We sat down with the president and CEO of the American Chamber of Commerce in Seoul on Tuesday, who spoke highly of the contributions that Korean companies have made to the U.S. economy.
I think that Korean companies have done an amazing job. If you take a look at the past 3 years, Korean companies have made around $140 billion worth of investment in America, making them the largest foreign direct investor in the United States. So if you are an American politician, a governor, or even the president of the United States, I think you have to recognize the big contributions that Korean companies have made.
But while Korean companies' contributions have been significant, more effort is needed to raise awareness of both these contributions and their broader strengths, particularly among the American public.
If you talk to an average American citizen who's living in Illinois, I don't think they know that Korean companies are the largest foreign direct investor. But I think that that's the mainstream America that Korean government and the Korean companies should really help educate the American public. And I would use the American citizens a lot more to be their ambassador.
And what are some specific strengths do you think American citizens should know about Korean companies?
Infrastructure is amazing. The people of Korea work very, very hard, very, very efficient. This is a great market to test out new products. The digital side of it is amazing, right? So those are the kind of aspects that people should know about Korea and why Korea is an important market for them to even consider investing in and doing business.
And the more the U.S. and its people view Korea as an important market, the more investment and partnerships will follow, which will naturally give Korea greater leverage against Trump's protectionist measures. Lee Soo-jin, Arirang News.
With warm and clear weather, dry conditions continue every day. Currently, dry weather advisories have been expanded to most parts of the country, and dry weather warnings are in effect for most parts of the East Coast, Chungcheongbuk-do Province, Daegu, and Gyeongsang-buk-do Province. In addition, strong winds of around 20 meters per second will blow along the coast and the mountainous areas of Gangwon-do Province until tomorrow. In these winds, small embers can turn into large fires, so please take extra precautions. Tomorrow morning's Seoul will start off at 12 degrees, Busan at 13 degrees. There will be high temperatures across the country tomorrow. Rain is forecast across the country on Thursday afternoon to ease off the dryness of the atmosphere. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
That is Newscenter for tonight. Thank you for watching. A panel session up next.